Okay guys, here's the practice for chapter 7.2. I'm going to go over the practice problem, so in case you need help with those 30, 60, 90 triangles, here we go. Here's a summary, very quick summary. 30 degrees short leg is x, 60 degrees is the long leg, is basically x times the square root of 3, or the short leg times the square root of 3. And the 90 degrees, or across from the 90-degree angle, is the hypotenuse, which is twice x, or the short leg times 2, or 2 times the short leg. Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look at this first exercise. We know these are 30, 60, 90. We're given the short leg. Remember, the short leg is x, so that means x is 10. The hypotenuse, which in this case is u, would be 2 times x. Since x is 10, then u is 2 times 10, which is what? 20. And then v is whatever is x for the short leg times the square root of 3, which in this case the short leg is 10, so it's 10 square root of 3. And you're done. Here is another one. Here they gave you the long leg. Remember, the long leg is x times the square root of 3, or the short leg times the square root of 3. You see it? The short leg times the square root of 3. So that means the short leg is what? 4. So that means n is 4. And then the hypotenuse would be twice the short leg. Since the short leg is 4, then twice 4 is 8. There you are. Here's number 3. Number 3, they gave me the hypotenuse. Remember, the hypotenuse is 2x. I'm looking for the short leg. Remember, the short leg is x. So y is whatever x is. So if you notice, 2x is 7. So that means 2x equals 7. That means x equals 7 halves. So that means here the short leg is 7 half, and you take 7 half, and to go to the long leg, just multiply that times the square root of 3. So that means, since x is 7 halves, then it's 7 halves times the square root of 3. So we have x equals, in this case right here, is 7 halves times the square root of 3. See, 7 halves times the square root of 3. And there you have it. In here, they gave me the long leg. Remember, the long leg is x times the square root of 3, or the short leg times the square root of 3. Notice then this is the short leg right here. See it? So that right here is 10. And then this right here is twice the short leg, which is the hypotenuse. That means u is that times 2, which is 20. All right. Going on here, you see how easy this is. This becomes really easy. Here we go. Now here's where we're getting into the more complicated part, but it's not really complicated. Remember, the short leg is always x. The hypotenuse is twice the short leg, so that means that this equals that, right? So I write it down and then I solve for x. So here I just divide that by 2, which gives me that x is equal 6 halves times the square root of 3, but 6 halves can be simplified into 3. So that means this equals 3 times the square root of 3. So that is x. And what is x? Well, x is the short leg. So that means this right here is 3 square root of 3. So I'm going to use that letter or that variable, and that's 3 square root of 3. Now, to go to the long leg, I take the short leg, whatever that is, right here, and multiply that times the square root of 3. So if I take that, which is my x, right? This is my x. This is my x times the square root of 3. Since this is x, then I put it there and then multiply it times the square root of 3. So remember, under, so I have 3, the square root of 9. Well, the square root of 9 is 3, so that's 3 times 3. And what is 3 times 3? 9. So that means x right over here for this problem is 9. So the long leg is 9. Okay? Moving on to number 6. Remember the short leg is x. And then the hypotenuse is twice the short leg. And the long leg is whatever the short leg times the square root of 3. See, if you keep repeating that to yourself as you do the problems, this becomes real easy and you get used to having this done pretty simple. So basically, I'm going to take this right here equals that number. So I'm going to solve for x. So I write it down. Solve for x. Remember, this is 4/2 times the square root of 2. So that means x equals 2 square root of 2. So this is my short leg. The short leg is this variable. So I'm going to use that variable. And I'm going to write, well, that's 2 square root of 2. All right. So since this is this number right here, which is 2 square root of 2, I'm going to take x, which is this, and multiply it times the square root of 3, right? So 2 square root of 2 times the square root of 3. Since these two numbers are under the radical, I multiply those two numbers. So I have 2 times the square root of 6, and that would be my long leg, because this cannot be simplified any further. So in this case, that right there, which is the long leg, is 2 square root of 6. And there you have it. All right, let's move on to number 7. Number 7, they gave me the short leg. The short leg is x. The hypotenuse is twice the short leg, and the long leg is whatever the short leg is times the square root of 3. See how that worked that right there? Real simple. So I already have x. So if I want to go here, I'm just taking this number, which is x, the short leg, and multiply it times the square root of 3. If I take those two numbers and multiply them, that's the square root of 15. That cannot be simplified any further because 3 times 5 are the 2 prime numbers, and there is no perfect squares. So in this case, y is that number. Okay, now I'm looking for the hypotenuse. Well, the hypotenuse is twice whatever this is. Well, since this is that, the square root of 5, then twice the square root of 5. There you go. So that's x. And it becomes pretty simple. Take a look at this one. This one, they gave me the long leg. Remember, the long leg is the short leg times the square root of 3. So this one is the hardest one because you have to solve, but it's not really hard. That's that. You know, this is x and this is twice x. All right, so I have the short leg is x. Cannot do nothing with that, but I could do something with this because this number and this number happens to be the same. So I'm going to solve for x. X, the square root of 3 equals 8. Divide by the square root of 3 on both sides, which gives you x. Now, never leave a radical in the denominator. Remember, you must rationalize it. Just bring it up and leave this number by itself. So that's 8 over the 8 square root of 3 over 3, and 8/3 is in its simplest form, so that's this number. So that's my short leg. My short leg, which happens to be this variable, is 8/3 square root of 3. All right, and I take this number, and to go to the hypotenuse, I'm going to double it. If I double that number, that means I multiply 2 times 8/3 square root of 3. Well, you only have to multiply this number times that number. That gives you 16, right? So that is 16/3 square root of 3. And since 16/3 cannot be simplified, then that is your number. So that one is the one that looks the most difficult, but notice it is not. Here, let's jump to number 9. In number 9, they gave me the hypotenuse. Remember, the hypotenuse is twice the short leg. The short leg is that one, and the long leg is the short leg times the square root of 3. Notice if 2x equals 4, then x equals 4 divided by 2, which is 2. That means the short leg is 2. And the long leg is 2 times the square root of 3. Pretty simple. Here they gave me the long leg. This is the one that you have to say, well, that's the short leg times the square root of 3. Here is my short leg, here is my hypotenuse. So now I take this number and solve for x. Remember, x square root of 3 equals 10 divided by the square root of 3 on both sides. Remember to rationalize it, so this becomes over 3. So 10 thirds square root of 3. Now 10 thirds cannot be simplified, so that means that is x. That is my short leg. See, x equals that. So x is, in this case they have b, is the short leg is 10 thirds square root of 3. See how that works? And then all I have to do now is to go from there, double it to get to the hypotenuse, which is a. If I double, I'm going to double this number only. So 2 times 10 is 20. 20 thirds square root of 3. See how that works? And that's how you do that. Here is the one where they give you 2 triangles which are adjacent to each other. Happens that the short leg is the long leg of the small triangle. So you have to see that if I'm working with this triangle over here, the small one, right? This triangle, well, that's the long leg. They gave me x, so this must be x times the square root of 3, or the short leg times the square root of 3. That means this short leg is going to be 8 square root of 3. That's that short leg right there. Now, that's x for this long triangle, and I'm actually looking for that. And what do I have to do to go to the hypotenuse? Double it. So if I double the 8, that would be what? 16 square root of 3. That would be this number right there, which is the hypotenuse of the large triangle. Okay? Here's another one. Hey guys. Sorry about that. Here's another one. They gave me the short leg on this triangle right here, and I want to go to the hypotenuse, right? So what I'm gonna do, this hypotenuse happens to be the long leg of the second triangle. So I'm gonna go from this short leg, which is x, and I'm gonna double it to here. So that means this right here would be 18 square root of 6, because I only double this part. Now that I have that, I don't need to do, just gonna erase this, and I'm gonna write there 18 square root of 6. So that's the long leg. Remember, the long leg is the short leg times the square root of 3. And so that's, this one would be x, and this one would be twice x. Since I'm looking for this one right over here, that I'm gonna highlight in green, so I'm looking for this x. So I'm working with the long leg. The long leg is x square root of 3. So let's solve that. Basically, I have x square root of 3 is equal 18 square root of 6. Divide by the square root of 3. Divide by the square root of 3. This cancel. It gives me the short leg right over here. Notice that this is under the radical, this is under the radical, so 6 divided by 3 is 2. So this would be 18 square root of 2. So now I have the short leg. This is 18 square root of 2. To take this and bring it to the hypotenuse, I just double it. So 2 times 18 is what? 36. So that means this is 36 square root of 2. So now I just give my answer. X is 36 square root of 2. Isn't that neat? So there you go. Now you're looking real smart. Okay, here is some algebra practice or an algebra review. Remember, we're solving this inequality. It says negative 3 is greater than the sum of k plus 3 divided by 3. Well, basically, to solve, you want to get rid of this one first, so you multiply by 3 on both sides. So 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. It's greater than k plus 3. Subtract 3 from both sides, so negative 9 minus 3 is negative 12. So negative 12 is greater than k, or k is less than negative 12. And there is your answer. Okay. Now here's another one. Another one, I want to take this and divide both sides by negative 6, right? So divide by negative 6 here, and divide by negative 6 here. Notice the negatives cancel. This negative 6 cancels that negative 6. It leaves me with 2n plus 8. Since I am dividing by a negative number, remember, you must flip this sign. So it's greater than or equal to, and then you take 108 and divide that by 6. And divided, that's 1 time 6, that's 4, 48. So 6 times 8, so 8 times 6 is 48, remainder is 0, and that means that this is 18 right here. See, erase this part. Okay, so now that I have that, all I have to do is subtract 8 from both sides, so that means 2n is greater than or equal to 18 minus 8 is 10. That means n is greater than or equal to 10 divided by 2, which is 5. And there you have it. The next one is factoring. When you're factoring, remember, you want to just multiply a times c, which in this case is positive 16. Put b in the bottom, which is 8. That's both positive. So in this case, what gives me 16? Well, 4 times 4 gives me 16, and 4 plus 4 gives me 8. So that means it's x plus 4 times x plus 4, which in this case is x plus 4 square. There you are. Here the same way, a times c, right? So 2 times negative 35 is negative 70, and negative 3 over here. Now we have to look for the factors of negative 70, which is 7 times 10, right? 7 times 10 is 70, and 10 minus 7 is 3, but since these are negative, one of them has to be negative. This determines that this number, the bigger number, has to be negative. The bottom one, b, is negative, the bigger number has to be negative. If the bottom one is positive, the bigger number has to be positive. So now I rewrite this number right here using these two factors. Notice if I put 7 with the 2, it doesn't work, right? So what I want to do is I want to rewrite this number in the middle using these two factors, but I'm going to put them in a way that I could group them. Notice that 10 is better with the 2 because they have common factors. The 7 is better with the 35 because they have common factors. Notice that? So I have to put 2x squared minus 10x plus 7x minus 35. Notice that the 2x squared is over here, the negative 35 is over here, and negative 10x plus 7x is negative 3x. So it's basically the same number. Now I group. That means I have 2x squared minus 10x plus 7x minus 35. Okay, come on. Greatest common factors is 2x. I have x minus 5. I put x minus 5 again. And then 7x divided by x is 7, so plus 7. 7 times x is 7x. 7 times negative 5 is negative 35. So now what are my factors? My factors is 2x plus 7, the two outside numbers. That's 1. And the other one is the x minus 5. Okay, pretty simple. I love it. Okay, so here is the equation in standard form. So what I want to do is find the x-intercept and find the y-intercept. So to find the x-intercept, I covered this. And that would be 15 divided by 7. That's not an easy number. So what is 15 divided by 7 is what? 2.5. Let's see. 2.5 times 7 is that 15? I believe so. No, it's not. Okay, so hold on. 15 divided by 7 is what? 2.14. So that's not a pretty number. Let's take a look at that. So how about 15 divided by 3? Well, 15 divided by 3, that will give me the y-intercept, you see? So I'm going to use that one. 15 divided by 3, that's 5. So 5 is my y-intercept. So here's my y-intercept. My slope would be the opposite of A divided by B. The opposite of A is -7 divided by 3. That's my slope. So that means I'm going to go down 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and go to the right 3. So here's my line. See? That line that goes through those 2 points, that's my line. Here's another one. In this case, again, 6 divided by 4 is not an easy number. It's going to be a fraction. 6 divided by 3, 3 divides evenly. That's 2, so that's my y-intercept. Notice it's my y. So that's 2. Now the opposite of A is 4, so the opposite of A divided by B, that's my slope. So now that I know that, I'm going to take that and go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 to the side. 1, 2, 3. Boom, 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 boom. And the line that goes through those 2 points, that's my line. Pretty neat. Okay, here is a neat problem. Application problem. It says below is an equilateral triangle that has side length of 10 centimeters. So that means this is 10 centimeters. This is 10 centimeters. This is also 10 centimeters because it's equilateral. Remember, all sides are equal size, right? Notice it says when a segment is drawn from the vertex to the center of the circle, it forms 3 congruent triangles. The bottom 2 triangles are formed when the center vertex is bisected. That means this is bisected right here. All right. Also bisecting the opposite side. The bottom 2 triangles are formed with the center vertex, it's right here, is bisected. So this is bisected, center vertex is bisected right there. So this is congruent, and also the bottom side is also bisected. Okay, now what do we have? If this whole angle was 120 and is cut in half, that means this right here must measure 60 degrees. That means this is a special right triangle. You see that? Label the angles of the 2 new triangles. There you are. And this one would be 60, this one would be 30. All right. Find the side length of these 2 newly formed triangles and label them. Okay, so if it's bisected and this whole side was 10 centimeters, then it means this is 5 centimeters and this happens to be the long leg. See that? The long leg is always x times the square root of 3. Remember, the short leg is x, so that means x times the square root of 3 equals 5 centimeters. If you divide by the square root of 3 on both sides, remember you must rationalize. So that's 5/3 square root of 3. See that? So that means the short leg, which is x, is 5/3 square root of 3, which is this leg right over here. Okay? Now, all I have to do to get to the hypotenuse is double that, which would be 10/3 square root of 3. So 10/3 square root of 3. See that? This is 5/3 square root of 3 right there. 5/3 square root of 3. Okay? So that's that. And Bruce needs to climb onto his roof. Apparently that is where he stored his man crease. After reading the safety manual for his ladder, he knows that the angle formed between the ladder and the ground needs to be at least 60 degrees. It needs to be at 60 degrees. He knows that his ladder is 25 feet tall. How high off the ground can he climb safely? Okay, so let's draw something like that. And let's assume, something like that, right? And let's assume this is perpendicular. This line shouldn't be there. Now, what do we have? We have a ladder. The ladder happens to be 25 feet. Okay? That's the hypotenuse. And this says angle formed between the ladder and the ground. This is the ground, is 60 degrees. So this is 30. All right, so here is my short leg. Here is the hypotenuse. Here is the long leg. I'm looking for this long leg, okay? So to go from the hypotenuse to the short leg, divide by 2. So that's 25 halves. And that's x. That's my short leg, see? Then take this and multiply it times the square root of 3. So that'd be 25 halves square root of 3. To find how high that is, right? To find how high that is, or this is x square root of 3. It's this, right? Okay, so I'm just gonna put that in the calculator. So 25 what is that? 14.4 approximately, and that's feet. So how high off the ground can he climb safely? He can climb about 14.4 feet safely. Okay. Yep. And that is that, guys. So see you later.